Good afternoon, Dr. Shea, as well as the TAs for my W112 lab. So the purpose of this video is just going to be to demonstrate the working codes I've worked on. I worked on these throughout the weekend before our final. It's just since I've had a couple other finals, I really wasn't able to show you guys, so that's going to be the purpose of this video. I'm going to show a couple different labs. I'm going to show working from current backwards. So I'm going to start with 10 part 4, which is this one displayed right here, 10 part 3, 10 part 2, 9 part 4, 9 part 3. Actually, no, 9 part 3 we were told to skip, so I don't have that one. And even back down to 8.3. This is pretty much going to be everything that I pretty much got as of now. So starting off with 10 part 4, this is just going to be the music player. These are the macro definitions we were given for the tones. Here's going to be the declaration for the pin 3, and you can see if our share going. And then if I move the interrupt, it goes right back at 0. Actually just plugged it back in, so there it goes again. So these two are going to be my arrays for the songs with all the little digits here. N1, N2 is going to be representation of how many characters are within here. I have them declared as macros up here. And then I have the functions to play both songs. So play song is just going to be this function right over here. So pretty much as long as the value in the array is less than the n value, which is declared by the length of the song, so n1, n2, it's just going to play throughout the duration of the song with the half-second delay in between. And then, of course, there's my resets. So with this one out of the way, here's going to be Lab 10, Part 2, actually. 10 part 2, this is going to be the music synthesizer. I'm assuming we're probably told to skip 10 part 3. And here's all the code for that. So this one I found to be relatively pretty easy. This one I use read switches from another one of our labs. I forgot exactly which one I pulled it out of. And then I just assigned each value. So whatever value that function read switches, because read switches are going to bring back a value either 0 through 15. Obviously 0 is going to be used for no output at all, so turn the speaker off. But 1 through 15, it's going to play a different macro. And these are the macros up here. Oh, I just realized I had them switched around. I will probably likely change it right after this, as I realized I had it switched around. But as I press 1, actually no, there's 1, 2, I'm pressing 2 at once there. And this is going to be the value of 15. I'm not very, I can't really read sheet music, so I won't really be able to play a song necessarily, but it does play. All right, so going on from there. Oh, looks like we have 10 part 2. There we go. So going on from there, this is going to be Lab 9 part 4. This is going to be the one that took me quite a bit of time. This is going to be the one with the 4 parallel arrays, X, Y, Z, max. We were only required to write a couple. Let me see, get point mass, center mass. Oh, I'm thinking about another one. But here's going to be my initial function call to get the value of n, which is how many points of data pretty much there are. And then, of course, everything's going to be stored into the arrays. This is going to be the initial maximum value. This is just a little function because I noticed in the lab, it doesn't say which function is responsible for figuring out the total value of all the mass. So this is just how I did it here, just real quickly, just to grab the maximum value. This right here is just going to be the call to find the center of mass, and then here's the function to output all of it. So get point mass, here goes this function right here. Here's the function definition. Integer n equals to max, which is this right here. K is just I use K right here basically to figure out if this is going to be the first digit, first input value. That's the purpose of this loop, so that way we could secure n. So if K is equal to 0, if it's the first one, n is going to be equal to serial parse flows, the first input, and then afterwards it's going to update K plus 1, so that way it no longer fits in this if statement, so it's just going to keep ignoring it. And after that, it's just serial available, x, y, z, m. It's just going to store all these variables here, and then it's going to return the value of n, which is going to be the first number. So this void center of mass, this is the one where we use pointers to store values for the masses of the center of mass for the x, y, and z coordinates. Once again, it didn't tell me which function it was responsible for calculating the total mass of all the sums of mass, pretty much. So I have that little function just real quick here to grab it. It's really only 3-4 lines of code, so I just tossed it in here. So here is going to be the formula right here. So it's going to be the pointer value of cx with the sum, keep constantly adding, of 1 over the total mass times the mass at that one specific point times x, the value of x, y, or z at that specific point as well. And it's going to do that as long as for the entirety of the array. And then to output the point mass, this is going to be the function for that. The function definition is just going to serial print x, y, z. And then throughout the duration, it's going to print out the whole grid. So while j is less than n, and then of course, after this loop is complete, it's going to show the total mass, which is going to be at one of the inputs of the function. And then of course, it's going to individually display the center of mass at each one of the coordinates. So let's go and see that one in action. Did I not upload it? There we go. There we go. So as it shows x, y, z, and m, it outputs the entirety of the array. This is exactly the array that was given to us in the lab. So you see the total value of mass is going to be 10, center of mass, which I did calculate and confirm later on, 1.3, 0.9, and then 0 for the z. This one messed me up for a while because I thought there was an error in my code, but I calculated and it turned out to be right. All right, so moving down from there, I'm going to go down to 8.3. This one also took me quite a bit of time. The main thing that choked me up here was just displaying the j. It was kind of a pain in the butt, but I was able to get it done. I just sort of took the absolute value of the second number, and then if it's bigger than 0, use the plus j, less than 0, negative j. So let's just do 5 plus j9. So there we go. That's the hardest part I had. And then input the operator. So let's just keep it simple. Let's just do addition. Input the second one. All right, so let's just do -5 plus j6. And then it outputs There we go. I did confirm this, that it was putting out the right equations. Do another calculation. Y for yes. There we go. And then it's just going to kick us right back at that loop. So 7 plus J6. Let's just do division. And then there we go. So for the lab, it only called for just a couple. I think it would just only needed a multi and add. I went ahead and also created the functions.
Divide and subtract. There should be down right here. Here's going to be all my functions for computing the information. So R1, R2, real 1, real 2, imaginary 1, imaginary 2. The division one was a little bit harder just because I had to use the power and the division down there. The char get operand, that one's actually really easy. Identify char C, input operator, C equals 0 read. 43, 45, 42, I decided to do the decimal value for the characters, so I had to look it up in the library real quick to see which one was division, which one was addition, and if it doesn't, if the input for C does not equal it, it would just repeat try again, try again, try again, until the user inputs something that is actually a valid statement, so one of these values up here. And then the display equation, it's going to be pretty easy, all down here. So parentheses, R1. And then this is where I ran into issue 2, displaying the J. When I was working on this, I was stumped on it for a while, so I just wanted to take a quick, easy solution. So I just printed out the absolute value of I1. But if I1 was greater than 0, it would be plus J. If it was less than 0, it'd be serial print negative J. Just kept it pretty simple like that. Let me see, is there anything else I'm missing as far as this one goes? Oh, this is my scan. So it's going to get the real value P, store it in here in a parse float, and then image P, serial parse float. This is what's going to be called on to get the initial value. And then in order to make it all like a loop, I just had pretty much a trigger value active. So active is equal to 1 initially. It's going to run through the entirety of the function, and then it's going to subtract 1 from active, so it's no longer 1. It kicks it out of that equation, but while active is not equal to 1, it's going to ask you, do you want to do another calculation? If you press yes, which is going to be this 121 value, it's going to break, reset active to 1, and that allows you to basically reset that loop. So this one right here, this is 7 part 3. This is actually going to be not really completed. This one I did get kind of stumped on quite a bit. I do have a majority of the code, but for some reason, and I feel like this is just a simple fix. It's just I got stumped on this one for a good hour, and I just pretty much gave up. But what happens to be, oh, maybe I have to reset it here. My issue is that it's not reading anything out of it's not reading any of the character values that I'm inputting in. So it recognizes the player numbers, it recognizes both my Sentinel values, but it's not reading any of this for some apparent reason. So when I input that all, which is directly from the lab, 12 is batting, 4 is batting, 7 is batting, 19 is batting, and then output's done here at the end. So I have the initial one set in a do while loop. Batting number is going to be, of course, a 4-digit first number inputted. And then if, since it is a do while loop, I have it here at the end. If batting number equals Sentinel value, break. And then, of course, there's the while aspect of my do while loop, while batting number does not equal Sentinel. And then there's that done at the end. And then to get the actual input values for the characters, so the digits, this is where I'm pretty sure this is where my mistake is. I couldn't see it. But I feel like it's something relatively easy. So while SCR, which is going to be score, I have it identified here as a char value. While score does not equal the Sentinel value, which I do have 2 separate Sentinel values, uppercase for 99 for this guy right here, and then Sentinel 35, which is the value for the hashtag up here. So while that does not equal the Sentinel value, serial available, serial read, I had that up here just for diagnostics when I was working on it. It still did not want to print anything at all. But if the score value equals H, update the hit counter by 1, and then get out of that if statement, and then bats plus 1, because we're always keeping track of how many times you got a bat. And then it's just going to loop this for as long as the score does not equal Sentinel. And then after that, once that loop is finished, average is equal to bats divided by hits. And then once this whole loop is pretty much done, it's going to serial print batter number is at batting, and then the average, which is gained from up here. I apologize for the dogs outside. They are going crazy. But yep, to my knowledge, that is 10 part 4, 10 part 2, 9 part 4, 9.3, which is with skip, 8.3, and I'll show you what I had for 7 part 3. As far as I'm concerned, I think these should be all. If not, I'll ask you as well. I was able to get a lot of confidence in all this. But yep, that sounds good. Thank you for a good semester.